If I have to describe Fort Worth cuisine, it's live. We like to use live fire, full of smoke, real flavors, local farm to table, all that kind of stuff. The Fort Worth scene is honest, it's true. There's nothing gimmicky about it. We don't follow a lot of food trends.
It's really come into its own with unique chef personalities offering unique restaurant offerings, and it can only continue to grow.
So the thing that I absolutely love about Fort Worth and their support of the arts is that it's very different than most cities. There's this enormous support that I've seen my entire life for the museums and the entire cultural district as a whole.
The thing that thrives the most about it is its do-it-yourself spirit.
Hi, I'm Celestina Block, your local host for A Night of Artists and Chefs Fort Worth. I grew up in this great city and I want to tell you a little bit about it. It's a mix of old and new, towering skyscrapers alongside historic gems. The famous Stockyards District draws 3 million visitors each year, with authentic stagecoaches, horse corrals, and real live longhorn cattle. The Stockyard Coliseum has hosted indoor rodeos for more than 100 years. Fort Worth boasts a number of world-class museums such as the Kimball, the Amon Carter, and the Modern. The city is filled with outdoor sculptures and public murals. The near South Side is home to numerous restaurants that cater to every taste imaginable, from fine dining to traditional barbecue. Kett & Co. Wines is a favorite watering hole in the neighborhood. Sundance Square in the heart of downtown is a popular gathering spot and was named after the Sundance Kid, who with his partner, Butch Cassidy, was a frequent visitor to the area during the days of the Wild West. Magdalena's Supper Club, a former industrial building, is the official venue for A Night of Artists and Chefs Fort Worth. 3 up-and-coming local artists, with the help of an experienced interior designer, will transform the space into an art cocoon.
So I grew up in Flushing, Queens, and so I grew up in a building that had 6 floors. So my mom and my dad were the first ones to move into the building, and then everyone else followed suit. My dad has 12 siblings. You can imagine what parties were like in the holidays. I love nature, not because of just how it looks, but of its psychological properties. So viewing the color green will make you feel really nice and calm, and even just looking at an image of a landscape will immediately trigger like calming sensations to your brain. My work has a lot to do with a lot of observation, a lot of taking photographs. I write a lot of notes. Sometimes I can't quite capture like a certain kind of color, so I just try to write it down and remember it. I kind of like that in-between moment of kind of being at the place, experiencing it, leaving, recording what I can gather from that area, and then coming back to the studio and then leaving that kind of space for memory and a little bit of imagination kind of filter through. It used to be all focused on state parks entirely and national parks. And then recently I've decided to pay attention more to my surroundings here in Fort Worth. I'm interested in plants and trees and foliage that are like on my drives to places or at people's houses, things that I care about or pay attention to. There's a lot of stress in wanting to kind of fulfill someone's vision. That's a lot of stress. When you're in graduate school and you have a other things going on outside in your life that take up a lot of your time. It's a lot. I literally don't even have time to like go to the bank to go put a check right now because I am so busy. But I try my best to just put that aside, and I got work to do.
Two popular Fort Worth chefs, Juan Rodriguez and Jenna Kennard, were asked to prepare a sumptuous 4-course meal for the event.
Jenna's one of those chefs who you want to see in the kitchen, but you want to see out too. She's got an incredible personality. She is a great brand ambassador for the culinary industry in general. She's a lot of fun, high energy, and she is just absolutely as talented as the day is long. So can't say enough nice things about Jenna Kennard. She's a great chef.
So I grew up in Waller, Texas. A lot of people do not know where that is. It's in between College Station and Houston is what I tell everyone. It's a little city, and I had a very big family. All of the noise and the hustle and bustle of getting together for the holidays, that warm feeling of just having so much love and hecticness and craziness and just happiness. So I was a senior in high school, and the faculty and staff announced that there was going to be this pageant and there was a scholarship. So I decided to take that shot, and I competed and I won. That's when I think I really started struggling and felt like I had to be this image. If I didn't have the thick long hair, the clear skin, the perfect smile, then I wasn't good enough. The less that I would eat, the more weight that I would lose, the more attention I would get. I had been told by my doctor, look, if you continue doing this to your body, you don't have more than a month to live. And I was looking at my parents crying, and I was like, what have I done? This is not me. So that's when I made the first step to getting better. If you would have told me back then that I would be where I am right now, that I would be a chef, thriving in a wonderful city, not only cooking food and serving it, but enjoying it for myself and really loving it, that's totally removed. And it saved me. Food totally saved my life.
Growing up, no one in my family is an artist per se. However, my grandparents lived here in Fort Worth, and at a very young age, they started taking me to the Amon Carter, the Kimball, and the Modern. I think that really shaped why I love art, why I love art history. It's from a young age I was taught to respect it and to learn about it. Before my grandmother passed, they went to, I believe it was 72 countries together. They would buy a doll at the different countries and buy it for me. My grandmother had handwritten, to Amy West, the date, where it was from. And now that my grandmother has now passed, it's really special for me to have all that in her handwriting and just remember, that she was probably one of the main reasons why I became interested in art at all. So my particular art, I'm always the kind of person that doesn't really like to have this huge conceptual meaning behind it. I just paint what I like to paint. What I find so fascinating about fabric is while it is structured, it's still malleable. I'll make the form myself. I'll build it up on a wall or I'll build it in a corner, and I don't feel constrained to paint it exactly the way I see it because it is a form that you can move around and play with. I am so OCD in that way that it needs to be what I'm seeing. But with fabric, I feel like I have the freedom to be able to change it. I'm a little bit weird in that I'm exactly 50 left brain, 50 right brain. So while I have a creative side, I'm not your typical artist that you see in the movies and the storybooks that are super messy and all over the place. And it is funny going into some of my friends' studios and it's like a tornado blew up paint tubes. I love that kind of idea of working in a space like that, but I think I would hyperventilate.
Chef Juan Rodriguez, oh man, this guy is absolutely one of my favorite people to be around. He runs an incredibly great kitchen. His flavors are spot on. He manages to elevate Tex-Mex and Mexican cuisine to an incredible level. He has got more experience in this town than almost anybody. He's very quiet, not one to brag, but everybody brags about Juan.
So I was born in Chicago, Illinois. As soon as I was born, we moved down to Monterrey, Mexico. I think I was 6 months, maybe a year, when we moved down there. And my dad wanted to be closer to my grandmother, his mom. My grandmother, Magdalena, she had a big impact on all of us. And she wanted all of us to kind of grow up together, as far as my cousins and my uncles and my aunts. She was very big on community. She wanted to make sure that we all knew what was going on with each other's lives, and she put family first. But after second grade, we moved back to Chicago. We lived there till I was a freshman in high school, and then made the trek down to Fort Worth. So I went to the Art Institute, and culinary school was a little hard. I was halfway through it. I went to the advisor and said, I'm done. I can't do this. She's like, don't give up. Just find some motivation. My grandmother was motivation. Grandmother, my family said, I got to do this. I got to be the first one to even graduate from school, and got to set an example for my family. So I just kept going, and here I am. I cook from the heart, and I cook food that I know that I grew up eating, give it a modern twist, and just pretty easy going. I just like having fun. You don't think about how much a person impacts your life until after the fact and after you've all grown up. But if my grandmother was here today, I would thank her over and over and tell her how much I love her. I didn't get a chance to tell her bye. And I understand why she did the things she did for this family and what she sacrificed, and I understand.
Well, my mom figured out when I was very young that I loved to draw and paint, and from that point forward, she kept putting me in art classes. Then I went to Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, and then after that, I went to UT Arlington and got a BFA in painting. I was asked by Scott to participate as one of the 3 artists, and to specifically be the artist doing the ceiling work. I came up with a design for the ceiling installation by multiple visits to the venue itself, brainstorming with the other artists and people in our crew. I play with materials first, and then I figure out drawing times, how to work with the materials the most efficiently. For 2 solid weeks, I was researching, getting ideas, seeing what other people have done in general, trying to figure out how I could do something that was my style and would be something that is functional and successful on the ceiling. I'm really glad I played with materials because there are plenty of design aspects that I did not include in this project because it would have taken too long and probably would have made the pieces too heavy, and so those 2 weeks were the most important. What makes the Fort Worth art scene unique is how driven the community is to make it something larger than it already is. And that's gonna take Fort Worth far and the artists far. And I think eventually in the next 5-10 years, while we continue to grow as a community here, people nationally are gonna start becoming aware of our community.
I think chefs today, coming straight out of culinary school, have a little bit of an unrealistic expectation that as long as I blog and as long as I start, putting my pages together and get my social media out, I should be on TV and get my book deal within a year. And hopefully 3 or 4 restaurants just land on my lap.
The challenges of being an artist are always going to be financial. How do you make a living selling your art?
Those are big challenges, because if you can't eat, you can't make art. If you can't pay your rent, you can't make art.
An artist is supposed to spend about 20% of their time creating art and about 80% of their time trying to sell it and unload it.
What I see young chefs do probably too often is overestimate their abilities. There's nothing wrong with going into a job with a good skill set and just going straight to work.
That you can simply work in your studio and go out into the world, and someone is gonna immediately recognize your genius.
Is the artist committed? Are they working pretty much every day in their studio, making art, sacrificing somewhat in their life to make art, and really invested?
The hours are brutal. Your holidays, your weekends, you got to give that up. It's a very difficult industry for family life, especially when you're starting out. You're going to work all the hours possible. That's the only way to get ahead.
Most of the artists I know work 18 hours a day.
They're artists who, even if they have full-time jobs, they find a way to paint every single day, or make sculpture every day, or work on video, digital imagery, whatever they're working on. They do it pretty much every day. Like, they can't help it.
You're working on faith alone. There is none of these promises. There is no payday in sight at the end of the day. It's just this passion.
It's one of those things that you just accept as part of the industry. We work nights. We work when everyone else plays. We're part of the service industry. But if you love it and you're passionate about it, it's one of the most rewarding careers there is.
Well, I came on board for this event when Scott reached out to me as needing someone with a design background to pull together the vision that the artists have as well as the chefs. This was a unique experience in that we've got 3 artists, big personalities, very distinct styles, and I wanted to make sure that their art was displayed in a way that was true to what they have done and created. Marrying the artists and the chefs goes together naturally, but I don't know if it's ever been done before. Fort Worth is the youngest city in Texas, and I think that youthfulness of our city really drives some of our appreciation for art and food, especially when you combine it with the Fort Worth mindset of we're not followers, we want to create and be on the cutting edge of what's next.
Well, the menu that we're doing for this event came together just in a day's time with Juan and I back in the kitchen together. We just kind of started cooking. And I was like, hey, what are you doing over there? And he's like, oh, this. And, what are you doing? This. And, what do you think about putting this with that? I think that's cool.
I wanted to stay true to who I was and showcase what I can do and what she can do, and, and bring in some Texas components to the menu. A little bit of Mexican, a little Mediterranean, some Texas proteins. I want people to see what we can do and what we bring and what represents us in Fort Worth.
We kind of established this really exciting menu because it's heading out of winter and into spring. So you've got all of those fresh flavors, those vibrant colors, those herbs that we haven't been able to use since last year, and having our friends there and who were other chefs and had terrific palates kind of put in their feedback.
I love this dish. I think that wine's not right.
This is Tempranillo.
What would pair with that?
The dish has fat, it has the counterbalance with the acid on that. And I think it goes great with the red.
We even talked about, getting pretty on the plate and doing some molecular stuff, but I'm like, that's not who I am.
Keep the ingredients real and fresh and local. We're big on local ingredients and sourcing.
We don't want to make people believe that we're these, modern presentation techniques, and we're just good, simple, forward people who cook great food and put some heart behind it.
Part of the design that was difficult was the space we had to work with, because one wall is a brick wall, the rest of it are white. They have those great little windows, but they're there's very little space in between. So we kind of have to figure out how we're going to make those work with the paintings. They have a chalkboard. So how are we going to hang something over that to make it still look cohesive?
Oh my gosh, when I first saw that space, I was not thinking that we could pull this off, because there were so many elements that I quickly learned, A, weren't working for us, and B, we couldn't take out or paint over. We also had this ceiling that had so much debris on it. We had a variety of light fixtures, acoustical panels that did not match each other, weren't placed strategically. We really had to work with all of these elements, find a way to camouflage or hide altogether so that we could let the artist, their work, and the chefs' beautiful table settings and their food shine. That needed to take center stage.
So Amy and I, in preparing for this event, I think it worked really beautifully and organically together, because there's something just so lovely about like drapery with like natural elements coming in. I'm hoping that all the colors and everything come together, that they don't look like Rainbow Bright just kind of threw up.
From there, we kind of blocked out the area. We made a 3D mock-up, very small, and then are going to kind of place our paintings where they will be in the room.
So just figuring out what I could put up there and how to even attach it to the ceiling. And also keeping a good weight and making sure that I was making these pieces durable and safe for the ceiling and the people underneath them.
We were able to use my medium of choice in this instance, and that was fabric. And we used a lot of fabric. We draped fabric from the ceiling, the walls, the corners, and what this did was camouflage imperfections. It helped with our acoustics, and it allowed for a backdrop for some of our artistic pieces and elements that were going into the room. On the first installation day, all of the artists came in at the same time, and we looked at each piece that they had together. I had seen all of these pieces ahead of time and had an idea where they needed to go in the room, but that was the moment where we really took into account, okay, this piece, this size, these color combinations look good right here. We either confirmed it or made our tweaks at that time.
Like it'll be blue, drape, oh look, more blue here.
I guess you could say the design process started with Erica and I getting together on several occasions, kind of looking at a color palette to work from, and seeing what forms we would like to use as far as like plants and really nature kind of forms.
For me, it's fun to figure out everybody's color palette, to try to figure out, okay, how do I tie it in to like make sure it complements with her, but that she's still her own person within the space. Trying to figure out like ways to make it work.
The first installation day was also when we had to start draping the ceiling in this fabric. And again, we had so much fabric, 250 yards of fabric. And the initial installation of those pieces, getting them up on the ceiling, we were running it long ways, lengthwise with the room. We got through one row, about halfway through that row, and we realized, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to get around some of these ceiling components going this direction. We literally had to take everything down. We're talking about a couple of hours of work at that point, and reorient it so that it was running perpendicular to the length of the room. It was a game changer in the end because it covered more of the ceiling. It looked really good, but it was a hurdle at the time.
So the theme for the installation project that I did for the ceiling was congruent with this theme of spring that the other artists were also doing. But my 5 pods and the vine were a process of winter to summer. And you can see that with the color usage, you can see that on the tops of the pieces where you have the gradual brown leaves to buds appearing to full bloom, and then the vine is what's connecting all of the pieces together with this idea of we see more vines, more growth, and then it being on the ceiling, it's like it's spreading, and that's what happens in spring.
So like it would like give the illusion of a table, and then this planter would be here.
I'm going to be working with colors that I haven't been working with recently. Some more brighter colors. A lot of my work has been a little bit darker. So it's kind of fun to try a new palette, new mixing, and just make it kind of feel like a complete immersive experience.
Everything is in place for a night of artists and chefs. The room is built, the menu prepared, but there's one last thing that needs to fall into place: the wines. I'm here at Kett & Co. Wines in the near south side of Fort Worth, here with JT Wilson, our local wine expert, and he's going to share why he selected some of these wines for the event tonight.
So to start with, we had the sheathed Verdejo. It's similar to a Sauvignon Blanc, but a little bit fuller. It's going to have some minerality. It does see a touch of oak, so it's going to have some versatility when pairing with the octopus, the quail, and the mushroom appetizer.
Minerality, I tasted.
Get a little bit of that sandiness.
Yeah, I love that. It's very refreshing to me.
And on top of that, the tangerine note in the octopus is really going to jump out.
It's very nice.
For the fish course, being the halibut, we're going to have the Quintilla Albarreño. White peach is a big general descriptor on this. It's going to pair really nice with the citrus and thyme notes on the halibut.
Not as crisp and acidic as the first one.
That rich white peach on this is actually really going to pair with that thyme.
I could see how it would bring out the flavors of the fish and hold up to that halibut nicely.
So to go with the carnitas and the duck breast, we're actually going to have the Onera Vera. They really pull back on the oak use on this to showcase a little more of the fruit, a little more of the grape itself.
Very fruit forward.
The fruit still has acid to it at the same time. It's going to cut that carnitas that's been making all day in Juan's kitchen.
And that guajillo salsa that Juan's making, this will hold up well with that.
Absolutely.
With the spice at the end.
For the dessert course, it was going to be very challenging to find still one that was going to go with the creme brulee, the spiced peach cobbler, and the chocolate mousse. Right. The old adage is that champagne pairs with anything. It is a brut style. It's got low residual sugar. It's going to cleanse in between the bites of all the sugar that you're going to have on your palate from trying all these delicious desserts. That real pretty fruit on the palate.
Yeah, this will be very nice with that creme brulee with the burnt honey.
Absolutely, and it's going to go amazing with that TX whiskey salted caramel as well.
Right, yeah, that's well, thank you so much, JT. That was amazing. You put a lot of thought into choosing these for the complex courses that we're having, and it was amazing. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So opening night, walk in, you've got the red carpet set up, the camera crew walking around.
Could you get a picture of us on this cellular device?
I can.
You look handsome tonight, man. Oh, thank you. Way too.
Under like 10,000 followers.
There you go. See? Just changes everything, right?
It's like a Rivers Cuomo sort of a thing going. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Come on!
Oh.
I'm not doing this thing alone.
Guests who are super excited to be there, to experience the food, take in all of the art. Some of these people are Fort Worth families, generations and generations, and I think that we hit the nail on the head as far as bringing together these new artists with the chefs, something that they can really, that they really appreciated. Fort Worth, very open to different types of art. Our new generation of artists are coming into a city that is ready for them. They want to see what work they're bringing out and what they're doing. And you go to an art gallery opening on for a new show on a Friday night in this city, and it is very well attended.
Juan and Jenna did a tremendous job of pairing unusual flavors. Their appetizer course included maple glazed quail and a chanterelle mushroom dish with hints of ginger in the mole sauce. The spoonful of octopus with citrus and olives was a daring choice that went over very big.
Fort Worth's overall aesthetic for both art and food is that they are proud of showing off what we like here in Fort Worth. So on the culinary side, for instance, preparations are robust. We like lots of flavor, maybe a little bit of spice, and they're adventurous in their eating as well. So if you've got something on the menu that you kind of go, I don't even know what that is, but I'll try it.
Being in this room and just seeing the transformation, I think is so interesting.
And the artwork is just incredible.
The fish course featured grilled Alaskan halibut. And what made it so memorable was the creamy undersauce with tart Napolito salad that really amplified the flavor of the fish. The fresh organic greens capped it off perfectly.
The food they created really tied back into what the artists brought to the table as well. In color, in the fact that they represent some of the best flavors of Fort Worth. They were using local ingredients. That was a big task to accomplish, and Juan and Jenna did a wonderful job.
The entree course paired a crackling braised duck with pork carnitas. The duck was tossed in a port cherry sauce. It added a wonderful tanginess to the meat. And it was served over herb gnocchi that had a crunchy exterior and a smooth, moist interior. The pork carnitas were laid out on a blue corn tortilla that had a spicy kick. It brought out the flavors of the pork and the topping of the guajillo salsa.
We kind of walk a little taller here. We're very proud to be in Fort Worth, and we want the best in our city. It was just fabulous to see their enthusiasm for what we pull together, see new artists, and have a very special meal that Jenna and Juan created. They were blown away by how it all came together.
The whole ambiance of the whole place was absolutely gorgeous. From Meredith doing her backdrops to the artists doing their paintings, it was just breathtaking.
The dessert course paired a 3-layer chocolate mousse topped with fresh raspberries and a pistachio and burnt honey creme brulee. The deconstructed spiced peach cobbler sat atop a crispy cookie with fresh whipped cream and a drizzle of Texas whiskey caramel. If we think of chefs as artists, the plate is their palette. The mixing of flavors is like the mixing of paints and art materials. Eating is influenced by the environment around you. And in this event, the art created an expectation that was complemented by the food and the wine. The colors, the flavors, the ambiance all work together in a unique way.
The pairing of the wine to each entree, each appetizer, and the desserts was spot on.
The ballots that let guests rank their favorite food and art acted as a wonderful center of conversation.
We had the loveliest time. We met amazing people at this party that we never would have got to meet any other way. The food was really, really good. The wine pairings were perfect. And that is the best creme brulee, the best gnocchi, and the best halibut we've ever had.
It was really special at the end of the evening to have Juan and Jenna talk to the guests. They got to share their inspirations and hear how much people enjoyed the evening. There's almost this feeling of family when folks gather at an event like this.
I think what really attracted me was the combination of getting artists and chefs who both do artistic things, but they normally aren't working together or thinking together, getting them thinking about the other's profession and the way they look at the world and bringing that world into their own world. And that was just thrilling.
I love the color schemes. They're all blending together very well, and it created a very nice, peaceful environment and to enjoy art and food. And food is also a form of art, and so combining the two is genius. I loved it.
I think what surprised me the most about this whole process is how easy it was for all of us to work together.
I mean, I knew that everyone was going to be able to complete what they said that they were going to do.
The people who work tirelessly to make events happen, like this one, like everything that Art Tooth puts together and other collectives around here, just the amount of work and the amount of money it costs is all coming out of their pockets sometimes. It's, you know, so I appreciate all that.
The community here is just super fun, super welcoming. Everyone is very positive and everyone wants to have a, you know, constructive criticism with each other, but also, you know, it's a great banter.
We have a lot of independent restaurants, a lot of independent chefs that want to make Fort Worth Grill, and what's cool is that there's a lot of people here who welcome progressive type of cooking, and they're gonna try it and they'll let you know.
My job as a chef, it's not just to make cool food, make exciting food, it's to share, and it's to serve, and it's to share a part of myself, the most vulnerable part of myself, with someone else who's escaping their day, who has their own life and their own problems, and it's just being in the moment and creating something truly special.
I truly believe that we gave all of the guests a transformative experience in that night and enjoying taking in all of the artwork, taking in the whole dining room, eating all that fabulous food. It was a very Fort Worth, Texas event.